5-Hour Energy, part of the SEC on ESPN. And welcome everyone to Williams-Brice Stadium in Columbia, South Carolina. This Saturday afternoon especially poignant across the college football landscape and across the country. Today, we commemorate those who perished and those who lost loved ones on September 11, 2001, perhaps America's darkest day. Chris Culliver out to the 21 in the 63rd edition of South Carolina against Georgia. South Carolina's Stephen Garcia now will take the reins of this offense. He was 16 of 23 for 193 yards passing last week in that victory against Southern Mississippi. But the level of competition, with all due fairness to Southern Miss, stepping up this week against a conference foe in Georgia. This the season opener, the conference opener for both these teams. Marcus Lattimore in the backfield behind Stephen Garcia. First down and 10 for South Carolina from their own 21-yard line. Mark Jones along with Bob Davie and Quint Kessenich down on the sidelines. And Stephen Garcia lunging forward for a couple of yards, brought down by Jakar Hamilton. And Bob, let's take a look at the impact players for today, some real pivotal ones.
Well, I think potentially this has a chance to be the best offense Steve Spurrier's had here at South Carolina. Legitimate running back in Marcus Lattimore, the true freshman, big, powerful guy. In the passing game, wide receiver Alshon Jeffrey, one of the big, talented guys. He has to step up because tight end Wesley Saunders out, and Justin Houston, an outside linebacker in the 3-4 for Georgia.
Bob, they give it to that talented freshman Marcus Lattimore. Picks up a couple of yards. He was rated the second top running back in the country coming out of high school a year ago. And when we take a look at this South Carolina offense, the one thing that jumps off the page at you is the size of those wideouts. Alshon Jeffrey at 6'4", Torrey Gurley at 6'5".
And it all comes down to quarterback Stephen Garcia. Is he the guy that can beat the Georgias and Floridas of the world for Steve Spurrier in South Carolina?
That might be a clue right there, Bob. On their first series, they convert on third down, a 9-yard pickup on the play. The pass complete to D.L. Moore. Let's take a look at the defense now for Georgia under the stewardship of Todd Grantham, the first-year defensive coordinator, and some pivotal parts there. They're replacing some key players as well.
Well, and also a complete overhaul on the staff. You mentioned Todd Grantham, 3 new defensive coaches on the staff at Georgia. And even bigger than that, a move to the 3-4 defense.
Penalty down on the field.
Take a look at Todd Grantham right there, defensive coordinator. Spent the last 11 years, Mark, in the NFL. Most recently at the Dallas Cowboys under Wade Phillips.
They push the ball back to the 19-yard line after the penalty, 3rd and 12. Handed off to Lattimore. Got a nice block. got enough for the first down at the 35-yard line. There was a missed tackle on the play by Vance Cuff, allowing Lattimore to pick up 16.
Well, I guess you can see why Marcus Lattimore may be the highest recruited player ever at South Carolina, rated #2 running back in the country last year by ESPN.com. He gives them a legitimate presence in the backfield.
Garcia hands it off to Lattimore again, and Lattimore running strong between the tackles, picks up 5 yards out to the 40-yard line out of Duncan, South Carolina. Had 104 touchdowns in his high school career, and some impressive numbers, including his first 2 collegiate touchdowns last week in that victory against Southern Miss.
South Carolina under Steve Spurrier committed now to the no-huddle offense.
Lattimore getting the call again, falling forward to the 38-yard line. Vance Cuff making another stop on the play. That's going to be a loss of 2 yards on the play. Bob, let's talk about Stephen Garcia, quarterback who has fallen under much scrutiny during his tenure under the guidance of Steve Spurrier on the sidelines, and he seems to have really matured, as shown last week, in terms of the passing game and managing the offense.
This is the test. I mentioned earlier, can he beat the upper echelon teams of the Southeastern Conference? He's taken a lot of public criticism from Steve Spurrier. Everyone says he's responded well.
Wide open underneath. DeMarco, a great receiver out of the backfield, and the fullback picks up another South Carolina first down at the 45 of Georgia. He picked up 17, but there's a flag down on the play at the 42. And judging by coach's reaction, this might be against South Carolina. The picture on the sideline of Coach Spurrier told it all.
Two big penalties here early in the football game for South Carolina. And we met with him yesterday, probably the most optimistic I've ever seen him the day before a game.
Can you get that hot this early in the game?
Boy, that's a big penalty. And interesting, penalties have been something that Georgia has really struggled with the last 2 years, ranking at about the bottom in most penalized teams in the country. But 2 penalties here early for South Carolina on offense.
Legal block in the back is the call from the field, and it pushes the ball back to the 45-yard line. Both of these teams coming out of the box last week with impressive victories. Georgia defeating University of Louisiana Lafayette. They're going to give him a first down in spite of the penalty. Back at the 45-yard line, Mark Richt in his 10th season as Georgia's head coach. And he told us the importance of this game on our conference call earlier this week, Bob. He said that, hey, the loser of this game really gets put behind the 8 ball. So you may not want to call it a must-win game, but it's pretty close to it.
Well, in the winner, at least on paper, it looks like they have a chance to challenge Florida for the Southeastern Conference East Division.
Youth being served. And Lattimore once again with a nice run of 10 yards close to the first down.
And I think you see on that run right there what Marcus Lattimore is all about. Great lower body strength. For a guy that last year was playing high school football at Burns High School in South Carolina, he is really strong, low center of gravity, a physical power back.
1st and 10. Call Lattimore's number again, and he answers the call in resounding fashion. Another 10-yard run, and he dragged Brandon Boykin a few yards to pick up 11. Those are the numbers that he put up in high school. He was Mr. Football in the state of South Carolina a season ago.
He won the state championship as a sophomore and a junior. Played in the state championship game his senior year. The only negative, and it's a little negative because he didn't do a lot, maybe ball security. He had a tendency to fumble a little bit in high school.
1st and 10. The 7th rush of the game for Lattimore. This one might have gotten back to the line of scrimmage. Christian Robinson making the stop defensively for Georgia. Bob, we talked about the change in scheme by the Bulldogs. To the layman, how's it going to look different?
Well, they're a 3-4 front, 3 down and 4 linebackers, but they're very multiple. So against some of these spread looks, it may look, Mark, a lot more like the conventional 4-down scheme. But I think you're going to see more man-to-man bump and run coverage in the secondary will be the biggest difference.
On 2nd and 10.
Steve Spurrier calling all these plays from the sideline.
Little receiver screen complete to Jeffrey. Alshon Jeffrey, one of those aforementioned lanky, lean, and tall receivers with the first down for South Carolina down to the 24-yard line. A pickup of 10. And South Carolina picking up the pace. New formation. Guys switching positions.
And they're playing against an experienced quarterback and an experienced offense in South Carolina.
Garcia keeps it himself this time on the quarterback read option, and he gets down to the 16-yard line. Nice gain of 7 yards by Stephen Garcia.
Stephen Garcia taking advantage of the zone read. You're going to see Cornelius Washington, the left defensive end right here. He's going to close down. And as everybody watching college football knows, you pull that football. It's a little bit of a new twist for Steve Spurrier. The true spread offense, committed to it now.
Lattimore again, this time hit initially about 2 yards behind the line of scrimmage and falls forward a little beyond the 15 down to the 14. He picked up 3. You know, Steve Spurrier said that Lattimore knows this offense as well as any senior on this team, which is high praise for a true freshman.
Well, I asked Steve Spurrier yesterday, Sean Elliott, the new offensive line coach that came in from Appalachian State. He confirmed Sean Elliott has played a big role in the no-huddle offense and also the inside zone that they're running that fits perfectly to Marcus Lattimore's skills.
On 3rd and 1, Lattimore delivers another first down at the 11-yard line. He picks up 3. This is a methodical, rhythmic, meticulous drive so far by South Carolina.
If you're a Georgia fan, and Mark Richt included, anxious to see how does the new 3-4 defense, how does Todd Grantham, how does it all work out? Last week had no challenge against the University of Louisiana at Lafayette. But right now, an excellent drive by South Carolina.
The 14th play of the drive coming up. Garcia open, incomplete in the end zone. In and out of the arms of Brian Maddox. Second down and 10.
You're going to see Brian Maddox right here lined up in the backfield. He's going to run a wheel route, and Georgia turns him loose. Man-to-man coverage, the linebacker right there, Christian Robinson, no chance in coverage, but boy, you have to catch that one, throw and catch it.
Well, Georgia's defense only gave up 14 yards last week against Louisiana Lafayette. They've already given up more than that today in this first drive. Garcia keeps it, and a flag thrown first down at the 12-yard line.
Before the snap, false start. Number 77 on the offense. That penalty is 5 yards. Second down.
Hubert Owens, the official today, our referee.
Mark Richt, thing they worked on defensively the most. People really threw the football on them last year, and lack of turnovers. Really, the last 2 seasons, this Georgia defense has not been able to generate any turnovers.
Little receiver screen complete. Jeffrey fumbled it into his teammates' arms and a touchdown. Wow!
Tory Gurley scooped that thing up and scored. Talk about those big, strong wide receivers. Alshon Jeffrey on the little jailbreak screen. Ball's going to come out right here, stripped. Tory Gurley's going to pick it up. This will be reviewed on the field. But you talk about big receivers. You have Alshon Jeffrey at 6'4", 235, and then Tory Gurley at 6'5", 230 picked that thing up and took it in the end zone.
We're going to review this and perhaps see if Alshon Jeffrey was down or not right there.
That was the knee down before the football came out. A little bit difficult to see right there. Here's another look at it.
Must be indisputable evidence for them to overturn the call on the field. Where's his knee? Right there, down. He might have been down first.
It's very close. Here's a great look at it right here. Yeah, that knee was down, I believe, Mark. What big, strong skill players for South Carolina. The running back Marcus Lattimore, and you combine him with those big physical receivers. Georgia's struggling tackling early in this football game against those big, powerful guys.
Very impressive opening drive by South Carolina to start this ball game off. And historically, well, in recent history, Steve Spurrier hasn't had a lot of good fortune against Mark Richt, his counterpart on the other side of the field. Richt's team has won 7 of 9 against South Carolina.
The whole decision, as we've mentioned, was it conclusive that his knee was down before that football came out? But you're right, Steve Spurrier 1-4 against Georgia at South Carolina.
Not only are these games hard fought, but they usually end up very close because 7 of the 9 games that they've played have been decided by 7 points or fewer.
Yeah, and normally a couple consistents in this one. Low scoring and hot.
The ruling is that the ball carrier's knee was down prior to losing possession of the football. The ball will be placed at the 2-yard line, 3rd down.
Obviously, the review officials think right there is conclusive evidence that his knee was down prior to that ball coming out.
You know, the interesting thing was Jeffrey got a great block from Gurley on the play. Gurley ended up getting the loose ball just in case. He had his back. Remember, they can get a first down before they get a touchdown. 3rd and 1 coming.
South Carolina shifts over to an unbalanced formation right here on the goal line.
Lattimore, hard running, touchdown. Marcus Lattimore with the 3rd rushing touchdown of his career, and what a collision there was between Lattimore, the freshman, and sophomore Bakari Rambo, the safety.
Statement drive. Early in this football game, the whole question every year, can South Carolina get over the hump? Can they have a breakthrough season? That might have been a statement drive right there.
16 plays, 79 yards. Lattimore against Rambo, and this time the soldier lost. Rambo didn't make it. Back with more after this. Famously hot inside the stadium here, Bob. Crowd got jumping after that great start as Lattimore led the way on the ground with some strong runs.
Lattimore, one thing about Steve Spurrier, he'll ride that horse if he finds a horse he likes. Lattimore with 10 carries for 50 yards on that drive.
Now, special teams, an area of concern for South Carolina because Georgia has some talented folks on special teams. This is Boykin, still on his feet, and across the 30-yard line, and that's where Aaron Murray will take over the reins of this Bulldog offense. Last week, he was 17 of 26, had 3 touchdown passes and 1 rushing touchdown. But that was Louisiana Lafayette. This is his first ever conference game and his first ever road conference game. The last time he was a starting quarterback under this kind of heat and spotlight, he was back at Plain High School in Tampa. Sean Ely dots the I, and here he is on first down. Ely making a little bit of noise and a first down at the 44-yard line. And Bob Ely, one of our impact players.
Well, Georgia's without A.J. Green, but they get 2 guys back that didn't play last week. You saw Washaun Ely right there, provided a spark for this football team last year as a true freshman. Right here, Tavares King has to step up. No A.J. Green. He becomes by far their biggest deep threat. For South Carolina, they have 2 really good, big, tall corners, Culliver and Stephon Gilmore, who also play some offense.
Between the tackles and out to the 35-yard line, that was Ely again. Stopped by Devin Taylor. He picked up 2 yards. And let's take a look at the rest of this offense for Georgia. Now, keep in mind, Aaron Murray is a redshirt freshman, but he has a lot of talent around him. Bob, they're going to rely on this offensive line with 2 4-year starters and a couple 3-year starters as well, and a 5th-year senior.
Yeah, and Mark Rick said that offensive line didn't play all that well last week against Louisiana Lafayette, but they had some injuries in camp. Let's see if some continuity helps him today.
They toss it into the boundary. Ely almost got to the edge and picks up another first down at the South Carolina 45-yard line. And let's take a look at this defense for South Carolina. One of their strengths is their defensive ends in Matthews and Devin Taylor.
They are really good up front. Some injuries at linebacker, particularly at inside linebacker right there. DeMario Jeffrey, really the 5th defensive back. 2 of the best corners, I think, in the country. Big, tall, athletic corners. Hard to find guys like Gilmore and Culliver for South Carolina.
On 1st and 10, Ely with a nice cutback. Weaving his down to the 41-yard line, picking up 4, and we go downstairs to Quinn Kessenich.
Guys, South Carolina in unfamiliar territory today. They've lost 7 of 8 in the series, yet they are favored in this game. And that didn't go unnoticed by Steve Spurrier yesterday. He said, we are no longer the stepchild in this series. Interesting, though, I was in Georgia's locker room yesterday. Dry erase boards. Everywhere you look, it says from underdogs to wonder dogs. No respect. Both teams using psychology 101.
Yeah, both teams trying to play that underdog role.
Ely again getting a call. Running over the right side of that offensive line. Josh and Chris Davis picks up 1 yard. Bob, who is the underdog in this game? Is there one?
I have to think Georgia is coming in here with the freshman quarterback, Aaron Murray. But you can see right there, lean on that offensive line, run the football, but right now, Aaron Murray has to make a play. Keep in mind, he is a guy that will take off and scramble in a heartbeat. Tremendous athlete.
The redshirt freshman quarterback, cool, composed, unflappable, and imperturbable in the pocket. In his first big test against a hostile crowd, making a lot of noise, he converts it to Marion Brown for the first down.
That was a cool customer. And how about Marlon Brown right there at 6'5", 219. They've been waiting on him. 5-star recruit, raw, lot of talent. Maybe he's the guy that steps up with the absence of A.J. Green. Maybe it's Marlon Brown's turn now to make an impact on this football team.
Carlton Thomas in the backfield, dotting the I. Thomas gets the call and gets down to the 30-yard line. So we've already seen a couple of backs. They've got Caleb King in there too for Georgia. Bob, let's talk about this Georgia offense. Without A.J. Green, what are some of the dynamics involved in making up for his absence?
You see it. Lean on that big offensive line. Run the football. And what I think, don't do a lot of checking at the line of scrimmage if you're Georgia. Let Aaron Murray get up there, snap the football. Don't let this crowd realize they can be a big factor. As soon as I say that, he backs off and is checking right here at the line of scrimmage.
Play fake. Murray incomplete into the end zone, number 6. Logan Gray. Well, Baba, the redshirt freshman, trying to get his papers, I guess, so to say. I left my credential on. He's trying to get his today, too. How much pressure on that quarterback in that spot?
Well, you know, he traveled every game last year. Now, he didn't play, but he suited up and he traveled. And keep in mind, he enrolled early at Georgia, so he's been through 2 spring balls. But spring ball, traveling on the road when you're not playing, doesn't compare to what he's facing right now.
I'm going to take my credential off now, too. Murray, complete. A big conversion down to the 17-yard line to Tavares King, who's really refined his skills during the offseason. Missed last week's game, but back this week, and he picks up the first down.
Well, talk about a quick release. I mean, this guy has a textbook release right there. Very good high school program out of Plant High School in Tampa. Kind of a feisty guy on the field. You know, I talked to some coaches. They say he's the hardest working guy, kind of quiet. When he gets on that field, he's feisty now and competitive.
10th play of the drive coming. Little bootleg action. Threw it behind his receiver, incomplete to Orson Charles.
Threw it behind his old high school teammate right there, Orson Charles. Georgia has some great-looking tight ends. I mean, Orson Charles out of Tampa playing, got 23 last year. High school teammates taking it to the next level.
Murray's actually considered Orson Charles part of the family. Hung out at their home a lot after, before practices. 2nd down and 10 coming up. Inside the 15, down to the 14-yard line, picked up a pair on that one. Neely himself, a former high school All-American. Georgia high school single-season record at the time.
You know, they say, you know, Washawn Indian went to a very small single-A high school in Georgia. Kind of came in with this chip on his shoulder to prove all the big 5-star guys from the big-time schools. But hey, just because I'm from a small school doesn't mean I'm a small-time player.
3rd and 8. Murray completes it. Charles hangs on to it this time. But that little bobble might have cost him a little bit of yardage. He picks up 4 on the play. And with under a minute to go now in the first quarter, Georgia, 10-yard line.
Bring Orson Charles on the crossing route. Thought Murray threw this behind him a little bit, which is unfortunate. Orson Charles may have had an opportunity to come up and make the first down. Brings on maybe the best kicker in the country right here.
This one coming from 27 yards out. Blair Walsh knocks it through. And Walsh makes it 7-3. So both teams' offenses respectively moving the ball down the field. South Carolina leading 7-3 when we come back to Columbia. Absolutely a radiant day, warm day here in Columbia, South Carolina. Look at the State House, the state's capital. The flag flying at half-mast today to commemorate 9/11 and those that lost loved ones on perhaps America's darkest day. 7-3. South Carolina with the lead. Both teams' respective offenses moved the ball well on their first series. Culliver in the end zone for the Gamecocks. He'll take it out. He's got a seam. Culliver with a nice return out to the 35-yard line, but there's a flag down on the far side of the field at the 34.
Talked about these corners from South Carolina. You see Culliver right there. He actually moved from free safety to corner, but you see his ability returning that kick. Unfortunately, holding call.
Number 18 on the receiving team. That penalty is 10 yards from the spot of the foul. First down.
South Carolina now with a couple of self-inflicted wounds.
That's 4 penalties and a fumble in this football game for South Carolina.
Timeout on the field. We'll be right back after this. Welcome back to the SEC on ESPN. South Carolina leading 7-3. This afternoon, ABC and ESPN2 deliver regional matchups as number 17 Florida State faces number 10 Oklahoma, and Iowa State tries to upset Iowa. College football presented by Buffalo Wild Wings on ABC or ESPN2 Saturday at 3:30 Eastern. Go to ESPN.com and search maps to see where you can find your game.
Never seen so many big games the second week of college football season. Amazing day today.
This one of those pivotal ones. Garcia under heat and rocked back at the 23-yard line, just behind the line of scrimmage by Justin Houston and Christian Robinson. Justin Houston, one of those impact players, Bob.
You're exactly right. Perfect outside linebacker, Justin Houston. And just back to Stephen Garcia, you see right there one thing Steve Spurrier's really tried to work on. Don't take the sack. They gave up 37 sacks last year, most in the SEC. Get rid of the ball, get rid of the ball quickly. You saw a little bit of hesitation that time by Stephen Garcia.
That's the end of the first quarter, and this is the 63rd edition of South Carolina against Georgia. The conference opener for 2 hopefuls in the division. Back with more from Columbia right after this. Welcome back, everyone, to the SEC on ESPN. And I guess not everybody's in the stadium today watching the game, Bob. I hope they're at least listening to it on the radio. They got their ESPN mobile TV or something.
That's a well-manicured looking lawn in front of that sorority house right there.
Start of the second quarter. And South Carolina with the ball, second down and 11 at their own 22-yard line. It has been a very impressive game so far for the freshman, Marcus Lattimore.
Again, looking over at Steve Spurrier, getting the signals.
Garcia, he didn't take a sack that time, ran it out to the 27-yard line. Picked up 4. We talked about Lattimore, the true freshman, and the redshirt freshman, Aaron Murray, at quarterback for Georgia. Both of them, putting an imprint on this game early.
How big recruiting is. South Carolina with 33 players on their team from the state of Georgia. Georgia with 9.5 million people compared to South Carolina, 4.5 million people. Georgia, a key recruiting state, obviously, for South Carolina. Only 4 on Georgia's team from South Carolina.
Garcia on the money. Close to the first down, maybe a yard short at the 34-yard line to Justice Cunningham.
You know, Garcia trying to change his image. You know, it's taken a lot of public criticism from Steve Spurrier. I think Steve Spurrier got his message across because they tell me he had a great off-season, Stephen Garcia, but he lost some weight and probably bigger than that, become a leader of the team in the offseason. You know, he's had some little festering problems off the field issues, nothing major, but all of a sudden he turned it around this summer, probably because he had some competition from Connor Shaw.
Connor Shaw, the freshman, son of a high school football coach, had a lot to push him to get the first down. Yeah, I remember Stephen Garcia, Bob, telling us a couple years ago when we had a chance to sit down and speak with him. He said, you know, if Coach Spurrier isn't yelling at you, means he doesn't care about you. So he's kind of gotten used to the presentation and listen more to the message as opposed to how Coach Spurrier delivers his message these days.
It's really interesting. You look at Mark Richt right there. You know, Steve Spurrier, not afraid throughout his career to publicly call out players and coaches. Mark Richt, on the other hand, I don't think would ever do that.
Different approaches to
Different approach. And the bottom line with both of them, just be yourself and win. Because if you don't win, they're going to say Mark Richt is too nice. If Steve Spurrier doesn't win, they're going to say he's too abrasive. So be yourself and win.
Well, they are challenging the spot on the field. Georgia challenging it. Here's a look at the last play.
Boy, that's a very good challenge right there.
You see the approximation, our yellow line of the first down.
Boy, that is an excellent use of the challenge right there by Mark Richt. Just so much riding on this football game. I think just being around these offices yesterday, talking to Mark Richt, they didn't say it, but I think everybody watched Florida against Miami of Ohio last Saturday, and there's kind of a renewed confidence that the winner of this game can challenge Florida for the SEC East. Don't you get that feeling? I mean, Florida all of a sudden seems a bit vulnerable based on their performance.
They struggled against Miami, Ohio. Take a look at where he catches it and then where he's brought down.
Yeah, forward progress, obviously, I don't think a factor there. I think that's a very good challenge.
Justice Cunningham right there made the catch. And Mark Richt. Spurrier both wait. Here's the call.
Bill stands. Georgia is charged with their first time out. They have no more challenges remaining in the first half.
So they get the first down.
South Carolina, not near as much I formation as in the past. And that's where you see Steve Spurrier changing, going with the spread no huddle that everyone in college football is doing. I know how hard it was for him to give up some of his I formation sprint draw pass that he's done through the years. They still mix it in there, but they're a spread offensive team.
On 1st and 10 at their own 33. Little receiver screen, and the pass complete to Alshon Jeffrey for a gain of 5 as we go back for the first time to Wendy Nix in the studio.
Mark, thank you very much. A Taco Bell studio update. Wisconsin 12-0 at home against non-conference foes under Brett Bielema. John Clay punches it in from a yard out. Badgers up 14-0 over on ESPN.
And back here with 13:15 to go after the play. The ball placed at the 47-yard line, a pickup of 8. South Carolina having success running the ball. Lattimore again. Brought down to the 47, picked up 6 with that chunk of real estate.
You know, confidence is something you gain with playing well. And this Georgia defense, for the first time in a true test, in a new scheme and a new coordinator, standing around a little bit right now.
There's Lattimore. Boy, tremendous effort. Down to the 36-yard line. Marcus Lattimore, the true freshman from Duncan, South Carolina, picks up 11.
He's going to get an excellent block from number 73 right there. Rakevius Watkins, the right guard. And this South Carolina offense is just out-physicaling Georgia right now.
Time down to the 33-yard line. They pound it again. You know, there's been so much talk, Bob, about Georgia's veteran offensive line. Maybe the guys up front for the Gamecocks have said, hey, we've got a good group too.
I think anytime you get a young back like Marcus Lattimore, that offensive line buys into it. And the fact they're running the football more, which offensive linemen love. I think you can see why Steve Spurrier was so optimistic yesterday.
2nd and 7. 3 receivers out to the top of the formation. Got a man on the post. Incomplete. Intended for Barnes, who was wide open. Well, today at 3:30 Eastern Time, Ja'Cory Harris leads number 12 Miami against Terrell Pryor in Ohio State. Then join Kirk and Brent at 7 as Joe Pa's number 18 Penn State take on Alabama. It's a monster college football Saturday on ESPN. Many of the games can be seen online or on your phone. Bob Davies going to give you his picks later. You didn't know it, Bob, but you are now. 3rd and 7. Garcia, it seemed like a little miscommunication, and they implode on 3rd and 7.
That's the thing right there. If you're South Carolina over the last several years, mistake-laden offensively. And that time you see Steven Garcia jump up under the center on 3rd and long, they fumble the exchange.
Well, they're going to line up here Spencer Lanningwill for a field goal coming from about 51 or 52 yards out. He's 19 of 22 on his career.
South Carolina not having enough players on the field right now. Going to have to burn a timeout.
He's got a career long of 47. We're going to take a timeout right along with the Gamecocks and come back to Columbia, South Carolina, right after this. You know, most people in these parts would have you believe, Bob, that there's no fraternizing with the enemy. But look where their seats are. Maybe it doesn't matter much from up there.
At some point, because I'm saying this to you directly, you got to put that text messaging thing away, though. Right? I mean, the guys at a beautiful Saturday afternoon SEC class, he's up there text messaging. But, you know, right here, Spencer Lanning. You see right there his career long 47. This would be a 52-yarder. Keep in mind, he's also the punter. So this could be a pooch punt situation right here where they just snap it directly to him.
From 51. Gives it a go. Comes up short. And a victory of sorts for Mark Richt's team as they take possession. 1st and 10 coming back the other way, and another look at Aaron Murray, redshirt freshman quarterback. Oh, with only one race remaining before the chase, the field is set. Tony Stewart and Carl Edwards both emerged as contenders after strong performances last weekend. The NASCAR Sprint Cup Series at Richmond on ABC tonight at 7:30 Eastern Time. For more information, log on to ESPN.com. Backs lining up out of the eye. Washawn Ely, the deep back. Murray going up top. Incomplete at the 18-yard line.
And boy, every Georgia fan is probably thinking the same thing I am. If that was A.J. Green instead of Israel Troop, because you take away probably 4 or 5 just deep balls. And A.J. Green with those long arms and that body control, he goes up and catches those jump balls.
Instead, it'll be 2nd down and 10 coming up. Murray's got a pretty strong arm, though. We've seen that.
He really does.
Ely with a nice move. Took a hit and kept going as we go back to Wendy in the studio.
Mark, thank you. Number 8 Florida hosting Skip Holtz's South Florida team. First meeting between these two schools, and look who it is. B.J. Daniels to Andrew Kessler. And South Florida on the board first, 7-0 at the end of the first quarter.
Boy, that's a score that, if nothing else, temporarily will give Georgia and South Carolina boosters a little bit of hope.
Yeah.
Third and 2 and nowhere to go. Sacked at the 35 by Devin Taylor. There's a flag down, though, on the play.
Boy, I'll tell you one thing. Assistant coach knows who that flag's on right there. Culliver, first game back after the suspension. That would be the 5th penalty in this game on South Carolina already.
Play was over. Personal foul. Number 17 on the defense. After the play was over, personal foul. Number 12 on the offense. Those penalties are offset. It'll be 4th down.
They're going to move it back to the 30. Chris Culliver right there on your screen. A key piece to their secondary. Didn't play last week because of a suspension. But back this week, and arguably, coaches say, might be the fastest player on defense.
Well,
Drew Butler into punt.
How about this punt? Drew Butler won the Ray Guy Award last year. 2 great specialists for Georgia, Blair Walsh and Drew Butler.
On Gilmore, back to this punt. A low line drive spiral. Takes a Gamecock bounce up to the 33-yard line. 9:46 to go in the first half. Steven Garcia's team leading 7-3 when we come back. Lions, King of the Jungle, they got it on chill today on this hot, steamy day in Columbia, South Carolina. That's the Riverbanks Zoological Park. More than 2,000 animals in their natural habitat in the area here in Columbia. 9:46 to go in the first half. South Carolina with the football 1st and 10 from their own 33. Garcia a little bit indecisive there and brought down at the 31-yard line by Christian Robinson. One of the vocal leaders defensively right there for Georgia. They lose 2 yards on the play.
Yeah, great open field tackle right there by Christian Robinson.
2nd and 12 coming up. First drive, they really moved the ball since that time. Hasn't been quite as smooth. 2nd and 12 coming up. Lattimore on the draw. And a great burst out beyond the 40. Steps out of bounds at about the 42, just a little bit short of the first down. Got a good block from DeMarco to pick up 11.
And that's a great story. You're going to look at DeMarco right here, who's a tight end and a fullback. It's the old lead draw play. Watch him get a block on the linebacker right here. You let that roll right there. Chops Christian Robinson's legs out.
Here he is again running between the tackles. Gets the first down out to the 48-yard line, and another good block, this time from Garrett Chisholm to pick up 6.
You see how big recruiting is. I mentioned probably the biggest recruit in the Steve Spurrier era here at South Carolina came down to Auburn in South Carolina.
Garcia going up top this time. And incomplete at the 10-yard line. A flag thrown on the play late. Alshon Jeffrey going up against Brandon Smith.
Brandon Smith, probably Georgia's most talented DB, you know, also plays some offense. Was the ball catchable? Yeah, that's a good call right there. And one thing, if you're Steven Garcia with these big wide receivers, put it up where they have a chance to go make a play right there. You can see how Alshon Jeffrey had him mismatch in size, but the ball's so far overthrown. A little bit different for Steve Spurrier having all these big wide receivers. You know, at Florida, he had all those 5'7" guys running all over the field.
They hand it off to Lattimore, looking for a crease and can't find one. Lost his hat and brought down at the 47-yard line. A loss of 2 on the play. DeMarcus Dobbs and Darrell Gamble, an outside linebacker, making the stop for the Bulldogs. We talk about girth and size. There's a look at it for South Carolina. Their receivers, Bob, that's a pretty good front court if you look at some high school or maybe even some college basketball teams.
That is a good-looking group, and he sprinkled in Ace Sanders, the freshman, as well. But no question, I mean, the jump ball is still a big part of college football now with these big receivers.
3rd and 12, ball tipped and incomplete at midfield. So the Georgia defense makes a little bit of a statement on that sequence.
Yeah, Darryl Gamble, the linebacker, dropped down to a defensive end in the 4-man front. Ran a little twist stunt right there. You can see, you say 3-4 defense under Todd Grantham, but when you play these spread kind of offenses, you see Gamble coming just out of the 4-man rush. So everybody looks pretty much the same when you line up against these spreads.
Spencer Lanning from his own 32 punting. Smith watches it go over his head into the end zone. It'll come out to the 20-yard line on the 53-yard punt. First down and 10 from there. Well, we're at the top of the hour. Here's what's happening now. Georgia leading this series. This is the 63rd edition of this game between the Bulldogs and the Gamecocks. Coming up ahead on Davy Jones' Locker, what to do with idle time and some of the consequences that result when players do have idle time. And coming up later, predictions on this really big Saturday of college football, albeit just the second full Saturday of college football. Some real pivotal clashes on board. First and 10 out of the eye. Redshirt freshman calmly hands it off for a nice gain of about 7 to Washaun Ely. Let's go downstairs to Quint.
Guys, from the moment Aaron Murray stepped off the bus today, and I watched him, headsets on, listening to mellow country music. He says he tends to get too excited and too jacked up pregame. He has been a model of poise. Pacing the sidelines when South Carolina has the ball, sitting down with offensive Mike Bobo and going over their play charts. The only expression that I saw from him was after that last drive, kind of grimacing after that first down play action went incomplete.
All right, Quint, second down and 4. Toss to Ely into the boundary. Ely picks up about 2 on the play. It'll be third down and 2. You know, it's interesting when you talk about Murray and his work habits, Bob. When we had our conference call on Wednesday, he was actually in Mike Bobo's office at the time watching film. It really says a lot about him.
It really does. And what Mike Bobo tell us, hardest working player he's ever been around. That's a heck of a statement. Let's see the young guy here on third down. One thing we haven't seen is him come out of there running, because he really is a quick guy and athletic.
Ely on the handoff, not enough for the first down. They're unable to convert, picking up just a single yard. Well, with all the noise here at Williams-Brice Stadium, Georgia worked out hand signals, but the only hand signals that matter right now are the one that says fourth down.
Well, a little conservative by Georgia. You can understand that with a freshman quarterback. Both defenses have settled down from those 2 opening drives. And it's a traditional Georgia-South Carolina game, low scoring and physical.
Butler punting. Gilmore back deep, standing at his own 27. Look out. He's got a wall of blockers out there and takes it inside and is dumped at the 38-yard line. A 44-yard punt, 11 on the return. We're going to take a break. When we come back, what's it like being a head coach and even a lot more, even coordinator? More on the other side. Welcome back, everyone, to the SEC on ESPN. The Gamecocks leading the Bulldogs 7-3. And when you look at the trends, Bob, if plan A doesn't work, you come in with plan B.
South Carolina, they've tried to throw the ball a little bit. Garcia started out pretty good, but Marcus Lattimore is the guy that Steve Spurrier's going to go back to. You see here the deep ball by Garcia. He's missed his last 3 throws, but you have to love the young freshman. 15 carries, 86 yards. That's kind of Steve Spurrier's comfort zone right now. Number 21, Marcus Lattimore.
Hands it off to Lattimore again. Lost his balance a little bit, but falls forward up to the 43-yard line. Picked up about 5 on the play. Well, Monday Night Football kicks off this Monday the 13th. First at 7 Eastern. Ray Rice and the Ravens take on Mark Sanchez and the Jets. Then at 10:15 Eastern, Chargers take on the Chiefs. Coverage begins at 5 with Monday Night Countdown served by Applebee's. And what about Ray Lewis and those comments about the Jets and that little reality show they got.
Well, he's not ready to crown the Jets just yet, right?
2nd down and 5. Jets are getting a lot of love and a lot of hype. They keep the ball on the ground again to Lattimore. And Lattimore is brought down right at that 1st down marker. Got about 4 or 4.5 yards.
Well, he just dragged Cornelius Washington right there on the inside zone play for about 4 yards.
Steve Spurrier, his team with just, and I say just in quotations, 7 points on the board against a pretty stout Georgia defense. Spurrier came to South Carolina with a reputation of being an offensive guru. That time, no gain on the play. And Bob, when you look at the evolution of Coach Spurrier at Florida, he put all those points on the board. Since that time, the story's been a little different.
Yeah, I mean, he's averaged, I think, in 5 years, they've ended up 75th in total offense, 72nd in scoring offense in the country. And both these head coaches are a lot the same. They've both hired defensive coordinators to really be the head coach of the defense. For Steve Spurrier, Ellis Johnson, and then Mark Richt, Todd Grantham.
Garcia hung it up there, but caught at the 45-yard line. And to finish your point, Bob,
I think that's,
what's it all mean?
I think that's the biggest difference in college football. Now, you now see coordinators getting paid not the same as head coaches, but significantly more than they got paid before. You know, both defensive coordinators with long-term contracts. We take a look at Ellis Johnson up in the booth. Both of them making a lot of money and both able to do it the way they want to do it. But you and I both know with all that responsibility and big salary, you better be able to get it done.
Quick receiver screen, that pass complete to Jeffrey on the move. Alshon Jeffrey, after the missed tackle by Brandon Smith, able to capitalize and pick up 24 yards, 1st and 10 for the Gamecocks.
I love Alshon Jeffrey. He makes Brandon Smith miss, but keep your eye. He better put that football away, Mark. Watch him right here holding that football out away from his body. Keep in mind there was a fumble that was ruled he was down early in the game. But ball security now.
Wow.
Put the football high and tight to your chest, but you have to love the big physical wide receivers of South Carolina. They are a physical football team. With Marcus Lattimore at tailback and these big receivers.
Steve Spurrier using the tools in his toolbox. Different set of utensils this time around than the ones that we saw when he was at University of Florida. Garcia showing his right hand to the medical and training staff there on the sidelines. He took a hit, Bob.
Yeah, Brandon Wood, 97. I think you're going to watch right here, right there, when he hits the ground, it looks like. Good pressure by Brandon Wood, the senior defensive end. Right away, he knew it. But you talked about playing quarterback for Steve Spurrier. Not everybody can do it. It's the same thing being the defensive coordinator for Steve Spurrier. You know, it used to be it was just about getting the ball back fast because they were going to outscore him on offense. He's bought in now to being a good defensive football team. That's how you win games.
Saw a situation last week with Tommy Tuberville down at Texas Tech talking about his defense sharing a little bit more of the load, trying to balance things out a little bit. Is that the path that Spurrier's gone a little bit here at South Carolina in terms of the defense doing a little bit of the heavy lifting now too, perhaps?
I think it's impossible now in the Southeastern Conference to just outscore teams. So he's doing what he has to do to win. But make no mistake, he still likes those high-scoring games now.
1st and 10. And Steve Spurrier with headset in tow. That is a bothered look on his face. Time winding down in the shot clock. Does he even know that his headset is dragging behind him?
I think that's been the biggest surprise since Steve Spurrier's been back at South Carolina. the fact that they've been discombobulated on offense, and if you had to define discombobulation, would you say that would be it right there?
Disconcerted, discombobulated, a lot of things. College football presented by 5-Hour Energy, the SEC on ESPN. Look at Coach Spurrier down there, Bob. He is out of sorts.
One thing you find out when you've been on those sidelines, they can't hear you. And as frustrating as it is, they can't hear you. But anytime you're no huddle, calling the plays from the sideline, there's going to be some communication problems. But all in all, I think they've executed pretty well right here in the first half, South Carolina.
Ace Sanders, number 9 in the ball game, the dynamic and diminutive receiver in the slot. Garcia, complete. Lattimore down to the 5-yard line. Marcus Lattimore showing his receiving skills off that time.
And here's what Steven Garcia has improved on. Watch him in the pocket, Mark. Nothing there. Now, instead of taking off and running, he just slides laterally and allows that window to open right there for Marcus Lattimore to come uncover. So moving in the pocket without scrambling out of the pocket is something they've really worked on with him over the summer.
First and goal. Lattimore chopped down at the 3-yard line. Nice hit by Bakari Rambo. Remember, they both had a collision earlier in the game, and Lattimore won it. This time, Rambo won that one.
So Lattimore with over 100 yards. 101 here in this football game. No big plays in this game yet. Speed on defense nullifies big plays. And no A.J. Green.
Yeah, okay.
That's why there's been no big plays. Both offenses have moved the ball, but no big explosions yet.
Lattimore has run for over 100 yards already. Second and goal. Here he is again and scores the touchdown. His second touchdown of the game gives South Carolina a 13-3 lead.
And that one was a little bit too easy. A little bit of a tired defense. You see Bakari Rambo, 18 right there, took a play off. But you have to like this young running back and just keep feeding him.
(14-3). And we're going to take a short break. When we come back, we go to Davy Jones' locker and talk about the offseason for the student athletes. Okay. Lattimore with the touchdown a few moments ago to punctuate a long, methodical drive by the Gamecocks. We lead 14-3. Marcus Lattimore rushing for over 100 yards already today. Welcome, everyone, to the SEC on ESPN. I'm Mark Jones along with Bob Davy. Kessenich down on the sideline.
And now how conservative can Mark Richt continue to be with the freshman quarterback Aaron Murray?
Well, both these teams have undergone a minor transformation from week 1 to week 2 in terms of personnel that has gotten back on the field, although some still remain out. It's been a turbulent offseason for both these teams for varying reasons. Boykin back on the kickoff return, and it goes out of bounds. Well, time now for Davy Jones' locker, which is an axiom for things resting at the bottom of the C. And here's a look at the players unavailable last week to the respective teams, Georgia and South Carolina. There was a rash of off-field incidents that precluded them from being able to play. And Bob, I ask you, what are some of the things that make this dynamic go the way that it does, unfortunately?
Yeah, there's never one reason for the problem. It's more complex than that. But one thing I think's really added to it is players staying on campus 365 days a year and not going home. You know, number one, they have too much time on their hands. They get a little bit bored. They have some silly off-the-field issues because they're bored and don't have enough to do. There's a couple other things, I think, with them staying on campus all year.
Here's the redshirt freshman. Completes the pass. DeVaris King was one of the players that did not play last week. So is there a solution? Do you provide more structure?
Well, I think bigger than the added time, they have no summer jobs. You know, it used to be kids went home in the summer, worked for 2 months, saved money, started a little bit of a checking or savings account, had some money. And now, for college football players, because they're there all summer working out, they have no money. You know, the average student, the regular student goes home and makes money. College football players don't. And I'm not making excuses for them.
Right.
But when you don't have money, you're more susceptible to things. There's no question about that.
Bottom line, these are 18 and 19-year-olds. A lot of times that pass incomplete. And the 19-year-old quarterback, Aaron Murray, on 4th and 7 coming up now, and they'll have to punt. It gets a rise out of the sellout crowd here.
That's the 3rd straight 3-and-out right there by South Carolina's defense. And this returner back here is an excellent return man, Stephon Gilmore.
Line drive punt. Gilmore watching it bounce at the 20, fields it at the 10. Nice move. He got rocked at the 18-yard line. Let's check in with Wendy Nix and find out what's coming up at halftime.
Mark, thank you very much. The number 8 Florida Gators feeling the heat in the swamp. Todd McShay and Robert Smith set you up for a monster Saturday. Team USA looking to advance to the finals of the FIBA Championships. We'll see you back here in just a few minutes.
See if the old ball coach here with no timeouts. I think you just take a knee and get to the half. Don't make any mistakes right here. But then again,
That's
I'm gonna second guess
Steve
myself.
Spurrier, man.
And you have those big, tall wide receivers. So if you're going to throw it down the field.
Talking about Alshon Jeffrey at 6'4", and Torrey Gurley at 6'5". Jason Barnes right there. Number 4, actually, a tall target as well.
They run the football. Georgia still with 2 timeouts.
That's Maddox on the carry. Off the 25. Brian Maddox out to the 26. Picks up 6 on the play. This might be the best chance that Steve Spurrier has to win the SEC East Division. A lot of optimism around Columbia, South Carolina, in and around campus.
You know, a lot more balance on this football team. Amazing what a guy like Marcus Lattimore does. They are a run and pass team now.
There's Maddox providing the running element. Like you said, Bob, this is a major game when you talk about the implications of recruiting. And Lattimore was Mr. Football in the state of South Carolina. They had Gilmore, who was Mr. Football in the same state as well. They've gotten some players.
Darn right. And to show you what players do, they were last in the Southeastern Conference in rushing last season, South Carolina. They have already rushed for well over 100 yards in this football game. And they are beating down this Georgia defense.
Whistle down on the field. And Georgia calls a timeout.
They only had 10 men on the field right there. See Brandon Smith coming in late. Look, we didn't call timeout. You got to love Marcus Lattimore. No big bursts, but just pounds you and wears you down.
2 scoring drives, 2 touchdowns for the freshman. He's run for 103 yards in the first half and showing a lot of strength. He gives you a lot of yards after contact, Bob.
Boy, low center of gravity, tough to tackle. Probably the biggest compliment before the game, I was talking to Steve Spurrier Jr., one of the greatest kids. He said everybody loves this kid, very humble. You look, we talked about the inside zone. That's something that's new this year for South Carolina. The new offensive line coach that came over from Appalachian State, Sean Elliott, has brought that inside zone. I think that really helps Marcus Lattimore because he's more of a power back. You know, a lot of teams run that outside zone where you kind of go east-west. The inside zone's a north-south play.
That's going to be the last play of the first half. South Carolina leading 14-3. But remember, plenty of football to play. 7 to the SEC on ESPN. As we are ready to start the third quarter play, South Carolina leading Georgia 14-3 as we begin the third period. And this is the 63rd edition of this rivalry. A pivotal game for both these teams. With respect to the SEC Eastern Division race, the loser of this game historically has never played in the SEC championship game.
These fans are starving for a championship here in Columbia, aren't they? What great fan support.
Georgia receiving to begin the third. And they bring it out to the 28-yard line, where it'll be first down and 10 for Aaron Murray, the redshirt freshman quarterback. Bob, Georgia only 3 points on the board in the first half. How did they get going here in the second?
Well, the first thing is pretty simple. I mean, South Carolina just out-muscled Georgia in the first half. I mean, they ran the football with Lattimore. He broke a lot of tackles at the line of scrimmage. And over 100 yards after the catch for South Carolina receivers. So Georgia right now is getting out-muscled defensively, offensively. They got to turn the freshman quarterback loose. They got a little conservative in the first half.
Go with a play fake on 1st and 10. The pass complete to Chris Durrell. Tall receiver on the other side picks up a nice gain. Got 11 in a first down. Let's look at the yards by quarter. Georgia really tailing off in that second period.
And no big plays by South Carolina. I mean, they only threw the ball down the field one time and it was incomplete. But again, just physically pound them a little bit at the line of scrimmage. But you can see Aaron Murray. He has the ability to throw the football. Mark Richt's going to have to loosen it up now. Let it rip a little bit.
Ely brought down by Laji Ajaboy. Ajaboy, one of those guys down on the defensive line for South Carolina, coming into this game a little bit nicked up. And he's one of their key players up front, number 91. Second down, about 8 to go for Georgia.
Just a huge advantage for Ellis Johnson without A.J. Green on the field. You can just go ahead and play one-on-one coverage on the outside with those two good corners.
Murray wide open at midfield. His high school teammate and buddy, Orson Charles, with the catch and another first down for the Bulldogs. Charles picking up 13.
That time Ellis Johnson bringing the corner on a blitz from the boundary, playing zone coverage behind it. You're going to see the corner up here come on the blitz and the tight end on the crossing route in that vacated zone over there. Excellent composure and good pass protection by Georgia right there.
We're in the Wildcat formation, and Rashawn Ely taking the snap and a little motion. Albeit illegal, perhaps, or a timeout.
Timeout. Georgia.
Georgia calling a timeout before the snap. Big Saturday afternoon in college football. Some huge games coming up. And now it's time for our Saturday menu, brought to you by Applebee's. Ohio State taking on Miami, Iowa State, Oklahoma, Florida State, and Alabama, Penn State with their freshman quarterback. And Bob, hey, I got to hit you up with those predictions. We teased it earlier. Ohio State, Miami, the first meeting between these two teams since the controversial ending for the national championship.
Ohio State, Miami. Now, I know who you're going to pick because that South Florida compound you own down there, that big house. But you have to go with Ohio State in Columbus. I think that's almost a lock.
What about Penn State, Alabama?
Lock. Alabama.
Alabama? Florida State, Oklahoma? Jimbo Fisher era?
Close. I think Florida State's going to go in there and beat Oklahoma. Oklahoma, a young football team. Kristen Ponder, just too much to handle for that Oklahoma defense.
Oklahoma struggled last week in their debut.
Still in the Wildcat. And Sean Ely at quarterback.
We get a good look at Iowa next week in Arizona. Iowa State.
Going out to Tucson now. You know they'll travel a bunch of people out to the desert.
Come back to the same Wildcat formation, and Ely keeps it. efforting forward. And he's pushed back, but his forward progress is going to be marked at the 41-yard line, picking up 5.
Boy, that first completion of the first half. Aaron Murray hit the big wide receiver, Chris Durham. That was big for the confidence of this Georgia offense. You feel all of a sudden they're starting to loosen it up a little bit of a bounce to their step and some confidence.
Mike Bobo, the offensive coordinator right there for the Georgia Bulldogs, he knows a lot about handling youth on offense. I'll tell you a little bit more about that after this play. 2nd down and 5. Murray throws a rope complete to number 6, the former quarterback, Logan Gray. And Bob, I talked about Bobo being able to handle youth. Mike Bobo himself has 5 children under the age of 5 years old. So he's used to handling young guys who are drooling and muling a lot, you know?
Yeah, and that's why they have to be successful on offense, because that's a bunch of mouths to feed, a bunch of shoes to buy, and a bunch of college education. So this guy better be good on offense.
Was it triplets that Mrs. Bobo had? Or? Here's the Wildcat formation again, featuring Washawn Ely. And another flag down at the line of scrimmage.
Back to that throw, Aaron Murray to Logan Gray. Logan Gray asked to move to wide receiver after he was beaten out by Aaron Murray. But the arm strength of the young quarterback, he can gun it.
False start. Number 71 on the offense. Penalty is 5 yards from the previous spot.
That's the first Georgia penalty of the day. Let's go downstairs to Quinn.
Guys, Georgia, when they go Wildcat, they are struggling with the cadence and the noise. You got Ely back there, a little unusual for the running back to get the quarterback center exchange, and they've had problems with moving early, false starts.
Those hand signals are going to be a key coming in because of the noise. 1st and 15, about a 2-yard gain by Ely, brought down by Ajaboy. And, well, if you're looking at the impotence, perhaps, of Georgia's offense, they're missing this guy, number 8, A.J. Green, who's a cogent part of what they like to do, a key cog offensively. Out for 3 more games because of a suspension.
Changes the whole game plan for South Carolina's defense. Now they can load up the box. They can take away the tight end because they don't have to take 2 defenders and cover that big wide receiver.
Tavares King trying to pick up some of that slack. 2nd and 14. Ely off tackle. Plowing forward. Picks up about 6 on the play down at the 25-yard line. Just under 11 minutes to go, just underway here in the 3rd quarter.
The other thing, when you play Georgia, as soon as Georgia crosses midfield, if you're a defensive coordinator, you're thinking they're already in field goal position. Because Blair Walsh, their kicker, what do you have, a 52 and a 48 against the win last week. So that changes your thoughts a little bit. I mean, you start thinking about pressure to try to knock them back out of field goal range.
Murray showing poise beyond his years, completes the pass. It's going to be real close to the first down at about the 16-yard line to Chris Durham. He picked up 9 on the play. Let's watch this spot. Remember, there was a little controversy earlier, but this time they get the first down. Durham reach behind him, Bob, and make a nice grab.
And you love Aaron Murray. Instead of taking off on 3rd and long and running, he throws that ball back across the grain. But Chris Durham, that's a great story as well. He went 707 days. They said he counted the days from when he played in Sanford Stadium until last week against ULL. Missed all last season with a shoulder injury. He had a calendar 707 days he went without being in Sanford Stadium in a game.
There he is, Durham, Bob, making those days that he waited count right now, moving in on potential points when we come back.
4 starting this second half on this drive for about 50 yards. He's come out throwing it a little bit here.
On 1st and 10. Ely out of the eye. Nowhere to go. got stopped up just beyond the 15-yard line by Rodney Polk. Polk, a couple of years ago, took an injury redshirt. Tore his knee up in the first game of the season last year. And through hard work and tireless effort has gotten back onto the field. One of the great comeback stories this year for South Carolina.
Unbelievable story, isn't it? It's 2 years in a row with a knee injury and back out there starting for the Gamecocks.
2nd and 9.
This is a cool customer at quarterback here. This redshirt freshman taking control of this offense.
Under heat and throws it away in the end zone.
Really good decision, though, wasn't it? Getting pressure, stepped up instead of forcing it, threw the ball out of the end zone.
He's from a pretty athletic set of bloodlines. His father, Dennis, played baseball in the Blue Jays system. Josh, his brother, member of the team, former member of the Milwaukee Brewers organization. His mom, Lauren, ran track and field in college as well. 3rd and 9.
See if this big offensive line protecting right here.
There's those hand signals they've been working on. He's going to take off. Not enough for the first down at the 9-yard line. It'll be 4th down coming up and about 4 to go.
That actually was a predetermined quarterback drive. Just watching those offensive linemen in there.
In comes the field goal unit led by Blair Walsh. Talked about his prowess from long distance. This one's going to be a relative chip shot. About 26 yards away. He's already made one today from 27. He gets this one between the pipes to make it a 14-6 game. What do you make of that drive in terms of Murray?
I think a great drive by Murray. 4 for 4 to start off. Threw the ball out of bounds so he didn't force the turnover there. And the best thing about that drive, I think it rejuvenates that Georgia defense a little bit. Gets Georgia back into a 1-touchdown game.
Hey, this afternoon, ABC and ESPN2 delivered regional matchups as number 17 Florida State faces number 10 Oklahoma, and Iowa State tries to upset number 9 Iowa. College football presented by Buffalo Wild Wings on ABC or ESPN2 Saturday at 3:30 Eastern Time. Well, here's what's happening now in Columbia, South Carolina. The 63rd edition of Georgia against South Carolina. True freshman Marcus Lattimore with a big day on the ground, 119 rushing yards and a couple of touchdowns. Coming up ahead, an SEC preview of ESPN the magazine through the players' eyes. And later, Mark Richt's unique resume. Now that's been on the sidelines now for 10 seasons in Athens. 8:17 to go in the 3rd quarter. Chris Culliver back deep for South Carolina.
So much riding on this football game because you see the potential of both of these teams, and you don't want that conference loss the 2nd week of the season.
Culliver 2 yards deep. Takes it out to the 22, 24 yards on the return. We return to Wendy in the studio.
Mark, thank you. Here's a look at what's going on around our ESPN family of networks. On ESPN, Wisconsin up 20-0 over San Jose State. And on ESPNU, it's Michigan State 27-7 over Florida Atlantic.
The Owls taking one on the chin. Schnellenberger trying to get things going down there. 1st down and 10. Marcus Lattimore in the backfield. Lattimore on the carry and brought down almost immediately. Cornelius Washington making the stop. A gain of about 1 on the play.
You know, Georgia, they missed those 3 defensive linemen. You know, they had 3 linemen drafted last year, all to the NFL. Geno Atkins, Jeff Owens, Cade Weston. You know, and they're lining up an all 4-man front. You know, when you play these spread teams, forget about the 3-4. You know, that's overrated. It's about losing those 3 defensive linemen, I've heard.
Here's Lattimore again. Chugging forward to the 27. Washington once again making the stop and a 4-yard gain on the play. It'll be 3rd down. And about 4 to go, 5 to go.
Mark, so many fans interested in the 3-4 now. You know, 15 NFL teams out of the 32 playing it. Some college teams going to it. But you know what? In college football with all the spreads, so much ends up being a 4-man front anyhow. So it still comes down to tackling.
3rd and 5, and we got some whistles down in the field and a timeout called by Georgia. We're going to stay right here. Is the 3-4 the trendy kind of sexy defense now? Is that what's happening?
I think it's more multiple in that anytime you only have 3 down guys, everybody else is playing in a stance. You can either drop them or rush them, so you have more combinations. Where in a 4-man front, you know who the 4 rushers are pretty much. But again, because of all the spreads, you end up in nickel or substitution defenses. So the 3-4 is just the base defense. And you end up in these nickel things anyhow.
We saw the graphic a few moments ago. Georgia with no timeouts remaining, Bob, with 7:09 to go in the 3rd quarter. How do you think that impacts them the rest of the way in terms of play calling on both sides of the ball?
Well, we'll see how it plays out. You know, obviously, if it's a close game coming down the stretch, you'd like to have that insurance policy of those timeouts.
Let's go downstairs to Quinn.
Guys, one of the storylines today, the offensive line for South Carolina. A big question mark coming into this year. They hired a new O-line coach, Sean Elliott, out of Appalachian State, where he coached for 13 years. And watching him today, relentless energy on the sideline. He's infused a confidence and a swagger into this offensive line. One of the O-line guys told me before the game, says he reminds us every day that we gave up 37 sacks last year.
Steve Spurrier loves him. I mean, Steve Spurrier was very complimentary yesterday of Sean Elliott. Said he's brought a lot to the table.
Well, we got a lot of movement up front, and Lennon down in the field. Marcus Dobbs, one of the players that moved, the defensive end there for Georgia. South Carolina's been very efficient on 3rd downs this afternoon. They've converted 7 of 9 times.
Yeah, that's a big penalty right there.
They put him on. Georgia's defense put him on scholarship.
5 yards from the previous spot. Result of a penalty is a 1st down.
They get a free pass.
You know, sometimes penalties, those statistics are overrated. You know, sometimes the most penalized teams are the best teams, but it's when you have those penalties, not how many penalties you have. And that was at a critical point right there.
Garcia to pass. Into traffic and caught miraculously at the 28-yard line by Jeffrey. How that pass got in there, I'll never know. A 40-yard gain, though.
First of all, great pass protection. But Brandon Smith, the corner, had a chance. And Rambo, again, number 18, never played the receiver. Watch number 18, Rambo, kind of gives up on this a little bit. Right there. Come on in there. Have a chance to knock that football out, but a great throw by Garcia.
Garcia hands it off this time, and down to the 25 as Marcus Lattimore picks up 3 on the play.
You see the balance of South Carolina, though. I mean, if they can execute, don't have the self-inflicted penalties with Lattimore and these big receivers, and the key is this guy, Garcia. Excuse me, it all comes down to him. I mean, he is the key to taking the proverbial next step for South Carolina. There's a lot of weapons.
Second and 7. Garcia showing a little poise, and he fumbles it. He put it on the ground. It's loose, and Georgia has the football.
Justin Houston, converted defensive end to outside linebacker. Garcia couldn't make up his mind. Should have tucked the ball and protected the football. Houston with the big strip.
Georgia with the football and new life when we return.
Yeah, Justin Houston right here, who's an outside linebacker, but a defensive end in the 4-man front, is going to chase Garcia down. Watch him with great effort, but Garcia right here switches the football in traffic, going from his left hand to his right hand. Robinson with the recovery. But here's the question mark right there that every South Carolina fan has, probably Steve Spurrier. Is Steven Garcia just the guy that teases you with ability, or can he get you to the next level?
That was the first turnover of the game. Little play fake. Pass complete to the fullback. That's Mutzenmeyer for Murray, and a nice gain out near the 35-yard line. Picked up 11. And Houston was the one that made the big play just a few moments ago, and it was interesting that he beat King, the player that came back from suspension last week, seeing his first action this week.
Yeah, Houston has really benefited from the change to the 3-4. I think he's the perfect NFL outside linebacker at about 250 pounds.
Out and up. Murray's got a man wide open. Wide open. First down and goal to go. Chris Durham for 55 yards, and he got in behind Devontae Holloman.
Tremendous play fake by Aaron Murray on the pump and go. Big Chris Durham down the sideline right here. You see the corner playing inside. They get the safety one-on-one on the wide receiver. They were up there anticipating run. That corner was kind of part of the 8-man front thinking run, and you get the safety locked up. Devontae Holloman on the wide receiver. Great throw, though, by the young freshman.
Good bit of ball handling, too. First and goal from the 10. Murray. Nice catch to the former quarterback Logan Gray down to the 4-yard line. Picks up about 6 on the play. And second down and goal. Former quarterback making a catch there. Now his receiver saw that he was beat out in the spring and asked the coaching staff for a positional change. Meanwhile, the guy who is the starter now, Murray, with some pretty impressive numbers.
I can see why he won the job. Georgia's found himself a young quarterback now for the future. This kid's going to be good.
In a hostile environment. In the red zone here. And a flag thrown before the ball snaps.
Right of the snap, false start, number 28 on the offense. That penalty is 5 yards from the previous spot. Second down.
Yeah, we talked earlier about ball security of these wide receivers. Look at him cover that ball up, Chris Durham, with both hands. Devontae Holloman, you talk about trying to punch the football out of there and compare it to earlier with Alshon Jeffrey from South Carolina holding that ball loose. When you talk about punching the football now, Holloman took a pretty good shot at that ball, didn't he?
Yeah, Durham could almost feel it coming. Just from the windup, second and goal. Fumble again, and this time South Carolina picks it up. Gilmore. A cataclysmic turn.
Devontae Holloman got him one there. He didn't get the big wide receiver, Chris Durham, but he's going to get Ely, the running back. Watch Holloman come in. Right there, knocks that football out. It will be reviewed.
Yeah, he was not down. That ball is live. That was a fumble.
That's out.
Georgia fans can only hope, but I'm not sure they have a strong case when you look at the video evidence here.
Well, Georgia, 118th out of 120 last year in turnover margin. Only Tulane and Miami of Ohio were worse. They start every practice at Georgia with ball security, ball stripping and punching on tackling on defense.
Yeah, his knee is actually on the defender.
Yeah, that ball's out. Both drives. South Carolina's drive, the turnover by Garcia. And now Georgia's drive, the potential turnover here by Washaun Ely.
Bob, he didn't play last week. Is that a factor of perhaps a little bit of rust? And, you know, Georgia this year used more of a quote-unquote NFL approach in their training camp. Not a lot of hitting, not that many two-a-days. I'm just trying to explain.
I don't know.
What are your thoughts?
You know, I think that's a good point. I mean, the trade-off is they did ball security every day, but they didn't tackle in camp.
After review, the ruling on the field is confirmed.
But you have to give Devontae Holloman credit. It was clear on the deep ball to Chris Durham. This kid's about knocking that football out. He comes back on the running game. He's up there in the box as the 8th guy, knocks the ball out.
1st and 10 for South Carolina from their own 14. Lattimore brought down right at the line of scrimmage by Rambo. Well, today at 3:30, Ja'Cory Harris in Miami taking on Ohio State up in Columbus. And then at 7, join Kirk and Brent as Penn State takes on Alabama. It's a monster college football Saturday on ESPN. Many of the games can be seen online and on your phone. 2nd down and 10. Garcia under duress. Boy, did a little Harry Houdini that time to make something out of nothing. And picks up 5 yards on the play.
And Georgia with both inside linebackers blitzing right up the middle. You'll see both inside linebackers coming on the blitz. I mean, Garcia, he is a good athlete now. Again, kind of switching that ball around. I mean, he's a gambler. He's, you know, there's a little bit of give and take. You get some good, but you get some bad. But you love the kid's heart and competitiveness.
Little receiver screen fake and a nice catch out on the edge. That's Gurley staying on his feet to get the 1st down. Let's check in with Wendy in the studio.
Thank you, Mark. We take you out to Madison, Wisconsin. A scary moment here. Keep an eye on Wisconsin punt returner David Gilreath. Hit hard by San Jose State's Peyton Thomas. He would be carried off the field in a stretcher. According to Wisconsin, he has suffered a concussion. Wisconsin now leading San Jose State 20-7.
All right, Randy, and back here, Lattimore on the sweep. Brought down after a gain of about 5 on the play. Pardon me, about 4.
Okay, when you fumble the football, man, you talk about being isolated in an isolated feeling. You see Washaun Ely over, and no one feels worse than he does. Think about the kid last night from Marshall that fumbled going in against West Virginia. I mean, the game's over. Young freshman. I mean, a key fumble stays with you a long, long time. It's hard to live that down.
Garcia, meanwhile, has hit his last 5 passes in a row. 2nd and 7. It off to Lattimore. Stays on his feet after absorbing the blow and picks up the 1st down on the 10-yard gain. Got a nice block from Patrick DeMarco, the fullback, but the true freshman continues to impress this afternoon.
Well, DeMarco, you're right. Watch the fullback. He's tucked in there. He's going to get a block on the linebacker. This is Chris DeMarco, the PGA golfer's nephew, out of Florida, plays tight end, plays fullback, playing with a broken bone in his forearm. One of the best blockers South Carolina has at any position.
1st and 10, under 30 seconds to go in the 3rd. Lattimore got chopped down right at the line of scrimmage, falling forward, though, for a couple of yards.
We're going to have to start calling DeMarco. If you watch the New York Jets HBO show, Rex Ryan calls Connor, the fullback, the Terminator out of Kentucky. We'll start calling DeMarco the Terminator the way he's blocking.
Making a couple flapjacks out there, some pancakes, huh? End of the third period, and South Carolina still with the lead 14-6. We said the trend in this series, in this rivalry, is close games. 7 of the last 9 decided by 7 points or less. We're right there right now. Welcome back to the SEC on ESPN. The intensity, the rivalries. This is the SEC. Enough said. It's moments like this on 3rd and long early in the season, Bob, that sometimes you look back on later in the year when you wish that you'd converted that first down or you'd made that play.
Exactly. And you look back on those turnovers like Washaun Ely fumbling down there in the red zone.
We'll be right back after this. There have been some huge momentum swings in this game, especially in that last period when you look at some of the fumbles and subsequently some resounding answers as well.
Yeah, both teams have moved the football a little bit better than a 14-6 game indicates. But a lot of peaks and valleys. He's got to keep playing. And one thing about these Southeastern Conference games, they're going to be close. It's kind of remarkable, the two quarterbacks, Murray and Garcia, both 11 for 16. Grew up 3.4 miles apart from each other in 10.
Right now it's Garcia's turn, and he is nailed, drilled back at the 39 by Justin Houston. The 4th sack of the day for the Bulldogs defense.
Yeah, Justin Houston, outside linebacker, but playing defensive end the whole football game. You're going to see him up here at the top. He just runs around the offensive tackle. Terrence Campbell, he's back to his old position at defensive end in this game. It's all down on a 3-point stance rushing.
4th down and 17. Second punt of the afternoon for South Carolina. Boy, Smith eluded harm's way, but he's going the wrong way. Got some of that yardage back out to the 10-yard line, but a 47-yard punt on the play. Murray going to take the reins of this offense when we come back. His team down by 8. You know, they watch from all corners of Columbia. High, far. Sometimes you can't get that 50-yard ticket. As long as you're close, you get that vibe, and right now, Gamecocks have it with an 8-point lead. Georgia has the football, though, on its own 10-yard line. Washaun Ely dotting the I in the backfield, and we'll see how he responds after that fumble on the last possession. Hangs on to it this time. Pick up about 4, brought down by Tony Strotter on the play. Well, low-scoring games, something that Mark Richt is familiar with. Bob, only 4 offensive touchdowns in Columbia, but they've won all 4 times.
Kind of amazing, isn't it? It just shows you again, highlights how low-scoring, how physical this game is. The other thing, no Caleb King today. I don't think we've seen Caleb King in the game. An ankle injury last week against Lafayette, so no backup tailback. Washaun Ely going the whole way.
Thomas has been in for brief appearances, and here's Murray, the redshirt freshman, brought down at the 16-yard line. It'll be 3rd down and 4. He picked up 2 on the play. Mark Richt can impart a little bit of wisdom on his quarterback. That's position that Richt played at the University of Miami. Cut from the Broncos after that, aspiring life insurance agent, health club, valet parking, bartender, and bar cleaner. when Bobby Bowden gave him a shot in '85.
Did a lot of things between '83 and '85. But right now, calling this play on 3rd and 5.
Anytime you work as a bartender, you give out a little bit of advice, right?
He doesn't seem like the kind of guy that would have been a bartender.
Ely met immediately at the 13-yard line. Short of the first down, Devin Taylor making the stop.
Devin Taylor, 6'8", out there in the open field now. Devin Taylor, 98, has one of the greatest nicknames I've ever heard.
What's that?
Don't say nothing. They call him Don't Say Nothing. They never hear him speak, but he is 6'8" out there in the open field.
There are a lot of guys that stand out down in the field. They're walking around pregame, but maybe nobody more than him at 6'8".
Time for Butler to launch one right here if you're a Georgia Bulldog fan.
Averaging about 47 yards per punt on the season. This one comes down at the 46. And Gilmore steps out of bounds right at midfield. 40-yard punt. 5 on the return with just under 12 minutes to go in the fourth quarter in the conference opener for South Carolina and Georgia. Carolina leading by 8 points. And the Gamecocks with the football. This is the best starting field position of the day for South Carolina. Their own 49.
Georgia alternating a lot of defensive linemen in there. Good news for South Carolina. No Justin Houston on the field at defensive end.
There's Lattimore and met immediately in the hole by number 18, Bakari Rambo. Well, with only one race remaining before the chase, the field is set. Tony Stewart and Carl Edwards both emerging as contenders after strong performances last weekend. The NASCAR Sprint Cup Series at Richmond on ABC tonight at 7:30 Eastern Time.
Key drive right here for Stephen Garcia for South Carolina. They've been hovering around that 7-6 record. Right here's an opportunity to get down and put this football game
under heat, and he's sacked back at the 32. The 5th sack of the game for Georgia. Akeem Dent and a host of others there to have a party in the backfield.
That was a heck of an effort by the inside linebacker, Akeem Dent. He's going to come on the plug stunt. He's blocked, but he continues to give good effort. Look at 31 come right here. The center picks him up. He runs the center over, keeps coming. Again, Garcia better put that football away. But Akeem Dent's had toe surgery in the summer. Hasn't practiced much, but that was really a good effort. And boy, South Carolina with so many opportunities.
Lost of 14 yards. Garcia, a little jailbreak screen complete. Down to the 39-yard line. That was Alshon Jeffrey picking up 4 on the play. It'll be 3rd and long. Darrell Gamble making the stop for the Bulldogs. So far, this Bulldog defense has acquitted well of itself under their new defensive coordinator.
Yeah. They've made some big plays. South Carolina's moved the ball in the first half. South Carolina muscled them a little bit. In the second half, they've come back and had some big sacks and big pressures and put South Carolina in long yardage situations. That was a disappointing drive, getting that football at midfield there for South Carolina.
Brandon Smith standing at his own 13-yard line, and Georgia breaking through and coming after the punter. Smith at the 10. Flag thrown. And Smith still live and in play and brought down to the 34.
Yeah, we're going to get a block in the back on that return. Again, Georgia penalized in the kicking game.
51-yard punt by Lanning.
During the return, illegal block in the back. Number 44 on the receiving team. As penalties half the distance
documented
from the foul.
Georgia's issues with respect to penalties and where they ranked nationally last year. There's another example of it. But they have the ball when we come back. 9:39 to play. Welcome back, everyone, to Columbia, South Carolina. It's the SEC on ESPN as we go downstairs to quit.
There's a certain look of tension on all the fans right now, nervous energy, a look of concern. You know, I'm not fully convinced that these fans fully trust Steven Garcia. As Coach mentioned, 7-6 a year ago, it's almost like they expect them to self-destruct from this point.
There's 9:39 to go. We're going to get the answer pretty soon.
It's so hard to take that next step, isn't it, in a program or for a quarterback. But how about this young quarterback right here? 8 for 9 for 120 yards in the second half. Aaron Murray from Georgia.
They're making it noisy for him down there. And he wisely throws it away with nobody open. Well, Bob, for Georgia and for South Carolina, actually, to get over the hump, you go back and revisit the numbers last year. Georgia 4-4 in conference play. South Carolina only 3-5.
Exactly. And, you know, if you're South Carolina, they've been stuck on that 7-6 kind of record. 7-5, 8-5, 6-6, 7-6, 7-6. A lot of football left right here.
Murray hands it off. This is Ely off the left tackle out to the 12-yard line. Holloman making the stop on the play. It'll be 3rd down and about 7 to go. This is where a young quarterback cuts his teeth. These are defining moments.
And South Carolina's done a good job of keeping him contained. A week ago against Louisiana Lafayette, he took off and ran out of that pocket for some substantial yardage. South Carolina's boxed him in.
Plenty of time. Nobody open and sacked. Back at the 12-yard line by Cliff Matthews, a player who was heavily recruited by the Georgia Bulldogs. Ended up going to South Carolina. There's a flag down on the play.
That would have been a false start on Georgia. That's going to be declined. Relentless pass rush up front. Cliff Matthews, 83, a 4-year starter at South Carolina. That defensive front from Carolina and this entire defense can really run.
Yeah, that's the 5th 3-and-out forced by South Carolina's defense today. Stephon Gilmore standing right around midfield. Butler from his own 2, a low line drive spiral. Takes a bulldog bounce all the way down to the 37-yard line. Let's check in with Wendy in the studio.
Mark, thank you very much. What a difference a week makes, at least offensively for Kansas. James Sims punches it in from 2 yards out. That makes it 21-17 over Georgia Tech. The Jayhawks now lead at 28-17. And after a bit of a scare in the swamp, Florida, who was slow out of the gate offensively as well on week 1, leading South Florida.
All right, Wendy, and Turner Gill's era getting off to a rocky start after a loss last week in Kansas. 1st down and 10 for South Carolina. Lattimore. He left a trail of would-be tacklers in his wake.
Well, you talk about finishing the run. He finished the run and ran over Jakar Hamilton, number 23. Watch at the end of this play. Bam! Jakar Hamilton got his feet a little too far apart, but he flat runs him over now. Who's going to take this team on their back? South Carolina, and get them over the hump. Again, excellent field position late in this game.
1st and 10. Garcia keeps it himself. Almost looked like a predetermined run by the quarterback. 7.5 minutes to go in the 4th quarter. Hey, Monday Night Football kicks off this Monday. First at 7, Ray Rice and the Ravens take on Mark Sanchez and the Jets with that reality show of theirs. And then at 10:15, the Chargers take on the Chiefs. Coverage begins at 5 with Monday Night Countdowns served by Applebee's. 2nd and 6. Lattimore hit immediately. Man, he broke 3 tackles. That might be one of the more spectacular 4-yard runs or 6-yard runs that you see in a while. He was pinballing off tackles.
It was a great run, and we talked a minute ago, who's going to put this team on their shoulders and carry it. Efforts like that will get you to the next level. I mean, picture this kid in high school last year.
That would be
the opponents of Burns High School, the assistant coach telling that little DB from some opposing high school, you come up and tackle and stick your nose right on his numbers. That little DB said, Coach, you want me to do what now? Because this guy runs them over in college football.
You're telling Coach, I got to live tomorrow to write that algebra exam. You talk about lighting up the bonus when you used to play those old-fashioned pinball machines, Bob. There's 1 bounce, 2 bounce. I mean, he was careening off of would-be tackles.
That low center of gravity, those big old thighs.
First down and 10. Kind of looked a little bit like Ray Rice. We'll see on Monday Night Football. First down and 10. Lattimore again getting stronger as the game progresses. Lattimore wants a lot more. First down at the 13 for the Gamecocks. And there are 2 Georgia players injured down in the play. Somewhat symbolic of Lattimore's running.
Well, Lattimore now with 32 carries in this football game. When's the last time a Steve Spurrier running back had 32 carries? Probably been a long time, but watch him run through the tackle right here. Christian Robinson right there. Great effort by Gamble, but he can't get him on the ground. I don't care if it's 4-3, 3-4, what you call it. That's just Marcus Lattimore with strength and heart.
188 total yards for the true freshman out of Duncan, South Carolina. Rated the number 2 tailback coming out of high school last year.
You think he has a chance to run for political office right now in South Carolina?
Pretty close.
Great high school career. Everybody waiting in anticipation for him to get on this campus.
You know, there is a lineage of good running backs here in South Carolina. You go back to the Heisman Trophy winner back in 1980, George Rogers. Went on to play with the Redskins and Saints, I believe, in the NFL.
Exactly. Forget about that old Florida chuck and duck or whatever they called that offense when Steve Spurrier was
Fun and gun, was it?
Fun and gun, exactly.
Steve Spurrier, Lattimore's head coach, saying that this young man is a real bright tactician in football too. Says he knows this offense as well as any 5th-year senior we might have on our roster.
No spring football. Just arrived June 1st on campus. Garcia's done a good job with his cadence at the line. You see he has Georgia's defensive line off balance by changing that snap count too.
Hands it off to Lattimore one more time, and Lattimore with a nice chunk of real estate might have gotten 7 on the play. And South Carolina using up a lot of clock too on this drive.
Exactly. You know, we've given Lattimore a lot of credit. As everybody can see, he's broken a lot of tackles, but this offensive line has been under fire in past years. They haven't given up negative plays. They've given him an opportunity to hit that line of scrimmage going full speed.
Let's look at Sean Elliott, the first-year offensive line coach. And Todd Grantham's defense on the field now for a long time, seemingly, for Georgia. First-year defensive coordinator, 2nd and 4. Lattimore, well, they forced him inside that time, and he got down to the 4-yard line. Picked up 2 on the play. No timeouts remaining, Bob, and we talked about that moments ago, how it was going to impact Georgia. What do they do now with 4:40 to go?
First of all, they got to stop Marcus Lattimore. That's the first thing. But you're right, they squandered away those timeouts, but it's so frustrating with a running back like Marcus Lattimore that you think you're playing good gap control, you think you're sound, and he just flat runs you over. But, you know, we talked about Steven Garcia making a statement to get him over the hump. It's been 21 that's getting this football team over the hump.
Gets enough for the first down, and it's 1st and goal. With 4:05 to go and counting. South Carolina leading by 8. And you would think that any kind of score here by the Gamecocks imperils the hopes of Aaron Murray. Nail-biting time and brow-sweating time for Georgia. Straight ahead. Brought down to the 1-yard line. Gained a yard on the play. Going to their workhorse today. Marcus Lattimore.
Ball security. We talked about the only slight negative was ball security issues coming out of high school for Marcus Lattimore. Protect that football. Georgia with no timeouts. Keep that clock going.
The last South Carolina football player with 200 or more rushing yards was Derek Watson 10 years ago.
Boy.
Injured player down in the field. That's Doughton for Georgia. Stops the clock with 3:25 to go. Both. Lattimore has run 36 times for 184 yards.
Wow. So much for that slow indoctrination into college football. Just taking it easy, letting him get into the flow of it.
I have a feeling when they recruited him, they said, son, you have a chance to play right away. 2nd and goal. That time nowhere to go for the freshman. That defense intransigent for Georgia. Unyielding. Gamble coming up with a stop. A loss of 2 on the play.
If you're South Carolina, run that football to your right. Put it right in the middle of the football field. And if you kick a field goal, the game's over.
3rd and goal. Now Steve Spurrier looking very much like a coach that has transformed his philosophies a little bit offensively because of a precociously talented running back, Marcus Lattimore.
Yeah, pretty simple strategy right here. Let it run down, call timeout, be very conservative, get the ball in the middle of the football field, get 3 points, and have a huge Southeastern Conference win.
Sounds like a pretty good recipe. Sideline, Spencer Lanning, the place kicker, out there, number 34, may or may not get an opportunity.
South Carolina, an unbalanced line to the right, so you know they're going right wide.
Garcia takes it himself and is stopped short of the end zone at about the 1-yard line.
It was a good call.
4th down coming up.
Very good call by Steve Spurrier. Almost had an errant shotgun snap, but you have to wonder on that Georgia sideline. What's going on if you're Washaun Ealy? No, you let this clock run all the way down and kick the field goal and get out of here.
Of course, the fans here in Columbia clamoring for 6.
But this young guy, Washaun Ealy, just a sophomore, first game back after the suspension. Fumble was a major, the biggest play in this football game as Georgia was about to go in and score.
They're in the red zone when he put it on the ground. Steve Spurrier's Gamecocks ready to capitalize. 1:16 to go when we come back.
Plays out because of the significance of this football game.
And now Spencer Lanning in to attempt this field goal. 17 of 20 last year. And this a chip shot and a flag down on the field. Lanning has missed today from 51. This one is going to be from 18.
Before the snap,
keep it in the same place.
Start on the offense. 5 yards from the previous spot. 4th down.
We're in Columbia, South Carolina. I'm Mark Jones along with Bob Davey and Clint Kesenick down in the field. Georgia taking on South Carolina in the SEC conference opener for both teams.
Work so much on these kicking game situations. Take nothing for granted. Still have to snap it, place it, and kick it right here, even though it's dead in the middle of the field.
From 24 yards out, Spencer Lanning with an opportunity to ice it. Barely. He dings it off the upright with literally inches to spare, if that.
Low snap. Good job by the holder of just getting it in position. And it's Georgia, South Carolina, right? That's how these games are played.
And if you're a Georgia fan, hope is minimal right now because they don't have any timeouts remaining. It's been a game of near misses for Rashawn Ely, who fumbled a few moments ago in a pivotal play.
And in this series, you take a look back starting in 2002.
That's David Pollock making a big play in the end zone to win it for Georgia. In 2004, David Green finds Reggie Brown for a 22-yard touchdown. That sealed it on a late interception as well. And then with Georgia up 14-7, South Carolina had 3 chances there. Couldn't do it. And Chris Smelly's pass picked off by Rashad Jones to preserve the win in 2008. It looks like South Carolina going to reverse the trend right here.
Well, Georgia was such a huge gap just overall in the history of this rivalry. You know, Georgia, as I mentioned, the state of 9.5 million, South Carolina 4.5 million. South Carolina with 33 players from the state of Georgia. Big, big, big win right here for the Gamecocks.
How long's that drive back to Athens?
Longer than it would have been if they'd have won.
Boykin back deep. Takes it at the 23. Boykin brought down at the 37-yard line. Well, what do the players think about the SEC? Arguably the most competitive conference in the country. They say the best team is Alabama, best coach, their coach, Coach Saban. Ingram, the best player. And what about the loudest stadium? LSU. There's a few to choose from there.
Bunch of juice on right there.
And the most annoying mascot. You don't want to be on that list. Big Red from Arkansas, one of them.
Let's see Aaron Murray here late in this football game make some throws if they can protect.
Protect being the key because he ended up on his wall at that time back at the 20-yard line under duress and under some heat from that defensive front from South Carolina.
Devin Taylor at 6'7". Trayvon Robertson, Ladi Ajabo, Cliff Matthews. This front 4 is relentless. Now you see him in a little bit more of a prevent look right here.
Murray has a little bit more time. Wide open at the 40-yard line, finds his receiver. That's Marlon Brown, and Brown has a first down in Gamecock territory at the 32. But time winding down, 50 seconds to go, and they're out of timeouts.
What do they say about prevent defense? The only thing that prevents is us from winning. Keep that pass rush on right now if you're Ellis Johnson. Don't let the young freshman stand back there.
Backside pressure. Murray gets away once, but not twice. Sacked back at the 41-yard line by Cliff Matthews. A loss of 9 on the play, and the sack by a player who was recruited heavily by Georgia ended up across the street at South Carolina. There's a look at Ellis Johnson, the defensive coordinator for South Carolina, whose defense has been stout. Murray with a completion down to the 32. That was Tavares King out of bounds with 12 seconds to go.
These are 2 talented football teams. South Carolina, the more mature of the 2 teams, more experienced, a little stronger, a little more explosive. But Georgia, with this young quarterback, they have a lot to build on.
Murray on the move. And collared at the 38-yard line by Devin Taylor. He used that pterodactyl-like reach of his to put an exclamation point on the final play of the game. They call him "Don't Say Nothing," but he said a lot on that play, Bob. Lattimore with a big day, 182 yards rushing, and South Carolina wins it 17-6.
The old ball coach, it's about running the football and playing defense.
Who would have thought?
Are we talking about Steve Spurrier now?
Who would have thought it was the same guy? This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. For Bob Davey and our entire production crew, I'm Mark Jones. Right now, let's send it back to the studio.